Hey, how are you doing? Let's do this.
Good, good. No, I'm excited too. We've chatted a little bit. Life has changed just slightly since we last talked. I've taken a lot of different pivots, as does any entrepreneur, but I've been pivoting a lot more recently, and yeah. So I guess I'm kind of curious to see where this conversation leads, because how we. Russia. She's like playing with her tail. The way that we kind of like were introduced to each other was through kind of like my endeavor, I guess. And now that I'm not really pursuing that as heavily as I was, I'm just kind of curious where this conversation is going to go, because yeah, I guess my mindset has also changed in the last couple months too. So yeah, I'm excited.
Well, let's do it then. Let's start there. So last time we met, we were on. It was like for our your financial pursuits. And so go over with me as you've pivoted from that. Talk about it. Let me know.
Yeah, so I mean, I got into finance because my parents left me homeless last year,
Mm-hmm.
and even before my parents had done that, they were in $200,000 of credit card debt. My dad ended up going bankrupt because all of that was put onto him after they divorced. And so seeing all of these different cycles of poverty, even going back to like my ancestors of like escaping World War II and kind of just going through the whole, famine and whatnot. It's like it just seems like poverty has been kind of a constant in my family and in like my family lineage. So all of these things kind of led up to the point where I was like, dang, like I need a financial foundation. I've been chasing my purpose, my dreams since the sixth grade, and I still haven't gotten to where I want to be. And I realized that was because I wasn't like taking my finances seriously. But I took that almost to an extreme where I got into finance, I got into this financial agency, and like I realized I was like, what I was doing was trying to make people passionate about something that I went through, that I was not necessarily passionate about, but I realized it was an important part of my life, and it
Mm-hmm.
was an important part of, like I made the 5 pillars of success, where I believe you need empathy, purpose, connection, finance, and health in order to genuinely be successful. And I honed in too much on the finance piece because it almost became my identity of like, oh yeah, I've been through all this adversity. Now I need to like help people not go through the same adversity by like helping them with their finances and maybe getting them to be interested in their own finances and stuff. And there was just a part of me that was like, it felt wrong because like I believe in passion, I believe in purpose, I believe that you should pursue what you really love to do. And if like me telling you to like do your finances, like it's not, there's no passion behind that. There's no like, yeah, there's a semblance of, if I help you with your finances, that enables you to work on your passion. But a lot of people don't even have the passion to pursue their purpose. So that's kind of where I realized, I was like, dang, okay. So I kind of just took a step back and I'm like, am I really feeling fulfilled with what I'm doing
Mm-hmm.
here? And the answer was no. Like even just getting on that call with you and just getting on calls with people on X and Twitter, and even just past that, like just like my friends and stuff, getting on meetings, I just didn't feel any level of fulfillment talking about finances and telling them how they can change their future, because I realized I'm not passionate about it, and that person sure as hell isn't passionate about it. So like the energy just isn't there to really make any kind of change.
For
And
sure.
yeah, so now I'm kind of where I'm at now, where I realized I want to dive back into my creative side. I love photography. I love cinematography. I love like filming. I love being able to go out and do things with people in person. I love traveling. So like right now, one of my main goals now is I want to move to LA. I just finished I went out to like a bunch of different luxury brands a couple weeks ago, and I took a bunch of photos and stuff to kind of build up my portfolio. And I just built up this whole media kit yesterday that kind of shows my statistics of like what I did on X so far, and just like all these other different creative stuff that I've done, like with esports and stuff. Kind of built up this whole portfolio, and I'm gonna send it to people, like different brands in LA, see if I can pretty much just start to build up my creative side and then see where that goes. Cause yeah, I don't know. There's just something within this finance stuff where like I love Jake. He's such an amazing mentor, and he's genuinely changed my life. And I could see his passion. He wants to make How Many Works a household name. So it's like what I think the dots that I connected was like, instead of me making people passionate about something, I need to find the people that are passionate about it and then leverage that passion and like help them in some way. So like for Jake, what I can imagine doing is like I go viral on my own way, then come back and like viralize Jake, and then Jake can go and do his own thing. And
Mm-hmm.
that's how I can help him instead of working with Jake, selling with Jake, and like doing all the boots on the ground stuff with him, kind of supporting him in my own way, where it might take a little bit longer for me to actually support him in the way that I want. But yeah, I guess there was a part of me that felt a little sad, and I felt like I was letting him down by I took a huge step back. I haven't really been focusing on my finance stuff at all. And a part of me was like, dang, like I feel like I'm kind of leaving Jake to the wayside. But at the same time, I'm like, no, I'm not, because I know that I'm pursuing what I genuinely want to pursue. I felt like my soul was getting ripped out of me by doing that. So I was like, let me just work on myself, work on my creative passions, and then eventually get back into that with Jake. So that's kind of where I'm at, I'd say.
Yeah, for sure. And one thing on that, I mean, last time we were on a phone call or in a Zoom call, yeah, I could definitely see the emptiness in your pitch. You were like, yeah, this is the pitch, and I was like, okay, okay. But
Yeah.
I watched your recent YouTube video, and you just look so much more excited, and I think that's the whole point of X, and the whole point of like life is just smile. No, it doesn't matter how much money you're getting paid or what your finances are. If you're smiling, you're better off than the 90%. So
Yeah.
as you move to, or as you want to move to LA, what sending portfolios and things like that, what is that going to look like for you?
Well, the goal is to, what I kind of realized was I am very bougie. I want to have a very luxurious life. I plan to have like a 20 car, like luxury car garage. I plan to have mansions and stuff. And I don't say that, like when people see that, they see it as, oh, like she's materialistic. All she wants is like, riches and whatnot. But, um, the only reason why I feel even comfortable talking about that stuff now, I didn't even used to be comfortable even admitting that that was kind of what I wanted to have for my life. And what I finally come to is like, I shouldn't feel bad about wanting to have luxury. And what I realize is that a lot of other people feel that same way, where they don't want to be luxurious because they're like, oh, well, if I have all that, then that means that the people in Africa are suffering, and that now I'm a bad person because I'm enjoying my life and like they can't. It's like, but then that gets into the law of duality, of like duality has to exist. There has to be suffering. So it's like you can't just dumb yourself down to, or not dumb yourself down, but you shouldn't bring yourself down to the levels of other people if you can lift yourself up and then help lift them up. So where I'm at now with this whole portfolio and stuff is I want to work with luxury brands and basically make it where people that have a lot of potential and they have a lot of grand ambitions like I do, but they have a lot of self-limiting beliefs. I basically want to make it where I can work with luxury brands, show people that you can go through hell and back, that you can basically suffer and go through all whims and woes of life and still come out of it luxurious and happy and abundant.
Mm-hmm.
Now, whether that for you might look like a cabin in the woods, out in isolation, enjoying a Starlink and a converted van, or, it's something more like on my end where it's a little bit more luxurious and kind of you can see the wealth or whatever. Um, I think that wealth kind of presents itself in a lot of different areas. But for me personally, I think that I want to help people remove that self-limiting belief that they can't enjoy luxury, and that they're not allowed to enjoy luxury because they don't work hard enough, or they're not in a lucrative industry, or they're not chasing the right things in order to make whatever they want to make. So I kind of see myself working with luxury brands eventually to the point where I can kind of revamp my idea of the creative movement, which is where I want to basically travel around America first, find people that are really passionate and purpose driven, film what they're doing, and then kind of viralize that content and basically make it where I can make this creative movement of purpose driven like entrepreneurs that are literally just pursuing their passions. They care about other people. They're spreading that love, that authenticity, and then eventually making that go global. And then yeah, we'll see where it goes from there. I mean, I've had kind of ambitions of wanting to change our economy, um, and maybe becoming the president at some point. So those are probably what I'm 23, so I can't become president for the next 12 years. So that's a little bit of a longer endeavor, but yeah, I'd say to start, I just want to pretty much be my own light, show people that I have been through hell and back, and I do deserve luxury, and other people do deserve luxury too, and that your income does not outgrow your identity. Just because you make a billion or $1 million doesn't mean you're going to turn into a horrible person. Money just enhances who you are inherently.
Mhm.
And I know that for me, like it's something that I kind of like had as a kid, this like little idea of like, what if I got this mansion? What if I got this massive penthouse with like hundreds of luxury cars, and then I just brought people for free to experience all of it and just like have fun and enjoy life and not have any strings attached or anything, and allow people to know what it's like to live that kind of a life, and then be inspired to actually take action and do it themselves through whatever means they want. But for me, that would be, I want to inspire people to chase their passions to be able to get to that kind of a spot, not chasing something like I did where it was like it it's something that has a lot of potential. It's a $1 trillion industry or whatever, but it's just not something that I'm passionate about. So yeah, I guess that's a long-winded answer of saying that I'm not necessarily sure where this whole creative endeavor is going to take me, but I'm
Yeah.
excited. Yeah, it's so unknown, but that's kind of the fun in it, I guess.
No, definitely. And so Los Angeles specifically, why LA?
Good question. I'm a pretty spiritual person, and I think there's a part where, I was born in Mission Viejo, and so I think there's a part of my energy and my soul that's kind of tied to Cali. The moment that I cross the border into Cali, there's just something in me that comes alive. Like literally when I lived in Reno, Nevada, we were like a 30-minute drive to the border of on Truckee, like by Truckee, California. So literally there was no change in scenery between, you see like welcome to California, but as soon as I passed that sign, like it just felt right. It just felt like home. So I guess within LA, like I've been there a couple times, but um I don't know. It's just there's just something about it that feels right. It feels good, and I know that there's opportunity there. There's opportunity everywhere, no matter where you look. But for me specifically, there's just I don't know. There's something calling my name.
Yeah, definitely. And so, regarding your mentor, how has he taken your whole pivot in this?
He's really respectful. He understands that everybody kind of has to find their way, and they kind of um you can get into something and realize that it's not for you, but as long as you tried it, that's what matters. And as long as you put in that sweat equity, even if it didn't go the way that you planned for it to, you still built yourself up personally, mindset wise, spiritually, however that might be. Even if it didn't end up in the financial success we may have wanted or anticipated, we still, I still grew as a person, and he did too. I mean, we're both different people than we were when we first met each other and when we first started all this. So there was, I could tell, like within the team, there was a bit of like, damn, like Hannah is like kind of leaving, like she's not really taking this seriously anymore. Like, damn, like the fuck. But at the same time, I was like, I love you guys. I'm still here for you. I still, I'll still share the events around and stuff where I can. Um, but yeah, other than that, he's been pretty respectful, and he's the kind of guy where like I don't know, he'll like take something, like dwell on it for 5 minutes, and then just be kind of like back off to the races. So he's probably going and helping families right now as we're speaking.
I love that. And so, you keep mentioning spirituality, and tell me a little bit about that journey for you.
Oh gosh. Yeah. So I grew up in a very, very interesting household. Um, we weren't super religious. I kind of grew up Christian, and then the, it was kind of like I don't know. like we kind of went to church every now and then, and it was kind of like we were Christian, but we weren't. We believed in something, but that was kind of like the extent. And then um, when I was 8, 8 to 10, my half brother had molested me, and when I told my mom when I was 10, she kind of had this switch in her brain where she she took religion and self-help to the extreme, where she started like throwing self-help books at me and my dad heavily, where she started like pressuring Joyce Meyer and like Christianity and Catholicism and like the Bible like down our throats. Like I had to like read the Bible like front to back. She like gave me like the regular version, and then she gave me the version that's like dumbed down for kids, and like I had to read all of that. And every Sunday I had the choice between Joyce Meyer or the Muppet Show, and if I chose Joyce Meyer, I had to write 2 pages of like what I learned that day. And like so it was just a lot of, yeah, a lot of pressure to the point where I eventually just kind of became agnostic, where I was like, I know that there's something, but I don't know what. I don't know what to believe in. Um, and then, yeah, so I pretty much was agnostic after that, all the way up until I became CEO of that startup when I turned 21. Um, and my advisor, it's very serendipitous because he had a pituitary tumor, and the pituitary like areas where like your spirituality resides. And he ended up passing away, and that's what caused my spiritual awakening. Um, I had an advisor in Australia who was like, look up ley lines, because pretty much right after he had passed away, I had become so depressed to the point where I was like, I don't even know if I should be here anymore. Like, why is it that every time I go and try and help people, they just die, or something horrible happens, or just something goes wrong every time? It seemed like that just kept happening. And so my advisor was just like, all right, let's get your mind off of it. Look up ley lines. It's like, ley lines? Okay. So I looked up ley lines, and they're like these energy coordinates that run all across the world, and they link up to places like Stonehenge or the pyramids. Pretty much they're just linking up to places where the inhumane has been done, the impossible has been done. And then that got me to like, oh, okay, like what? So I was like, okay, energy. Then I got into like energy, frequency, and vibration. That got me down the rabbit hole of like chakras and like Buddhism. And then I found like Abraham Hicks and just like Mahatma Gandhi. I started like finding all these different like spiritual teachers. And yeah, from there it was kind of raps. Where it's just like, wow, that now I have found like, oh my gosh, like I've kind of been an optimist all of my life,
Mhm.
and when I got into this, I realized that my optimism is what has been keeping me going. It's what like how the universe and God, if you will, has been kind of helping guide me through things and guide me through life. And I will also add on top of all of this, um, I don't like to use this term often because people can, there's like documentaries on Netflix, and just like a certain there's a community that's kind of like a cult where um, they take this term and they just kind of screw around with it, and they really romanticize it and like hyperbolize what it actually is. But pretty much I believe that I met my twin flame back in 2018. And essentially a twin flame is different from a soulmate in that your twin flame is basically you, but like in another life. It's almost like it's like think of Back to the Future, like with that one part where he like goes back and he sees himself. It's essentially that, instead of like a soulmate where you can have like hundreds of soulmates and they can be platonic or romantic or whatever. So you really only have one twin flame because it's you. It's just you in a different like reincarnated timeline, if you will. But I met her in 2018, and she has never left my mind ever since I met her. And I remember the first day that we met. I think the date, October 27, 2018. Like it is so ingrained in me. And so after all this, like literally me and her reconnected 2 weeks before Matthew had passed away, and we hadn't talked like a year and a half before that. So like just seeing all these different synchronicities with her, and also just like the fact that she had caused me to pretty much do so much self introspection when it comes to like how I treat others and just how I go about life, how I can love somebody so much to the point where like I hardly know anything about them, but I would take a bullet for them. Like it just made me really do so much introspection of like, what is that? Like, what is love? What is spirituality? What is this world that we're living in? And yeah, so I think there's a lot of different aspects that kind of got me to the point where I am now, both with love and with religion and with spirituality and with death, where it's like I'm just super open minded, I guess, now to the point where it's like I also know there's so many different kinds of religions, and I'm just really open minded to all of them. I'm not ever going to essentially like believe in what other people believe in, but I'm at the end of the day, none of us know what the fuck is going on. Nobody knows. Like,
Yeah.
nobody knows anything. Nobody knows whose religion is right or wrong. So it's like, even though I am spiritual, I'm not religious in any capacity. I believe that Christ was real. But other than that, like, I know that there are certain religions where there might be certain truths and there might be certain, false, whatever. But the reason why people become religious is because there's a belief within them that they love, that they hold so dear to their heart, that that's why they believe in it.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to remain open minded to that kind of a conviction, because if I have a certain belief and somebody else has a certain belief and I just shut them down, it's like I'm shutting down their heart. I'm shutting down an experience that they had. Um, and let's say that that religion is something that I don't support or something that I don't believe in, then I'll just be like, hey, I love you. I appreciate you. I think that you should believe in what you want to believe in. But, me and you were just not meant to be communicating or, whatever in this lifetime. And that's totally fine. Doesn't mean I hate you. Doesn't mean I disrespect your religion or anything like that. It just means like, hey, I just don't vibe with that, and that's okay. So yeah, I'd say I'm pretty open minded when it comes to most all religions and spiritualities, but yeah, it's been quite the journey for sure. I'll say
Yeah,
that.
definitely. Two things on that. I think one of them is gonna be I love the idea of universal truths. I think it's really big, and I think the only truth in life is what's true to you, and that's like where the conviction comes from. I think too. I know we're both gay women who are both spiritual, so it's very different when I go up to someone. I'm like, yeah, I believe in a God, and they're like, no. I'm like, yeah, that's allowed. It's okay. It's just love. That's all it is. Personally, I think that's all spirituality is just a deep understanding of like love and like how you can love more. And
Yep.
I mean, there's probably more to it. Like, I love the chakras thing. My mom is recently into chakras, which is ironic because I grew up in a very like Lutheran household where it's like we're going to church. You have
Oh
Wednesday,
wow.
like every Wednesday. I remember I was in like first or second grade. We would stay up to like 9 p.m. and I was like maybe 9. I'm like, it's Wednesday. I just want to go home and I gotta read the Bible and I gotta sing. I'm like, I just want to go home and play with my little Barbie dolls, okay? Like, damn. But and so like I remember when I also became like agnostic, I was heathen. Part of it's actually on my arm. I still believe very much in it, but it's more like a heathen of love and like things like that. And fate is also on my arm. So it's things like that where it's like we're all tied to one thing and that one thing is love. And if you can't accept that, then that's my personal truth. And if you can't love, then you're part of the negative that's in the world. And when there's a negative, there has to be a positive. And so I love that
Exactly.
the eternal
Oh,
truth.
that's um on my Luma, I have like I wrote 44 principles on X of
I
like
saw that.
what.
And we're gonna get there too.
Yeah, and so like literally the last thing, my last principle, and it's literally what you're saying right now. It's I believe we all believe in the same thing at the end of the day, regardless of religious or non-religious perspectives, in which that same thing is the act of practicing authenticity and love. It's
Mm-hmm.
literally what you just said. So it's like
it's
that's
it's
crazy.
yeah. It's at the end of the day, like it's all just a single solo truth, and it's like the idea of it's really popular on X. Like life is a single player game, but in multiplayer. It's like yeah,
Ready Player One.
and then the other one would be introspection. What did introspection look like for you, and then what does it look like for you now?
I guess like when did it start,
Sure.
or
Yeah.
like
You mentioned that your twin labeled as twin flame, and then like I know you're very introspective now. I mean, you've pivoted 100 times, so that takes some thinking. And so go through that with me.
yeah, shoot. So it's really interesting because
Mm-hmm.
before Matthew passed away, it's really weird to think about, but like before he passed away, I was almost like I don't I don't really know how I went through life. Like I was I just feel like I was an empty shell before he passed away.
Mm-hmm.
I met her in 2018, but the thing is when you meet your twin flame and you're completely unawakened, it's really bad. It is extremely toxic. You become obsessed with them. You put them on a pedestal. You are constantly thinking about them. I constantly think about her now, but it's not like the way that it was. It's more like if there's something that's not occupying my mind, she's in the back of it. But back then it was like, oh my god, I love her. She's amazing. She's like heaven sent. Oh, like all I can do is think about her. What can I do to be with her? Like it's just like it's super consuming because it's your soul and your soul gives you energy. So like when you think about your own self-love, your own soul within yourself, when you feed your soul, when you feed your creativity and whatnot, you glow. You know you're chasing your passions. So when all of a sudden your soul is also residing in another person, it's like you're seeing that. So it's like they're also kind of like giving you that life and stuff. But the pretty much the point of meeting your twin flame is to realize that it's not about them, it's about you. It's about you finding that self-love within yourself and realizing that you don't actually love another person, you project your self-love onto that
Mm-hmm.
person. There was something on TikTok recently that was like talking about your partner is a direct reflection of how you love yourself, of your
Mm-hmm.
self-love. So um, pretty much before everything happened with Matthew, even though I had met her, I was completely unawakened. I was a degenerate. I was just like I was just trying out crazy stuff. I was trying drugs and like weed and like alcohol for the first time and whatnot. And because I because my parents were super religious, or my mom was at least. My dad was atheist, but um, like they didn't really let me do anything. It was a very very cookie cutter kid, I guess. Um, but shoot, I lost my train of thought. This happens often. What was I saying?
You're talking
Oh,
about.
introspection. Yeah. So, um, it's just interesting because it's really weird to think about that wasn't, I was aware of what I was doing, but because I didn't have that connection with the universe and I didn't like have any kind of connection with the divine, it was just kind of like life was just kind of throwing me around and I was
Mm-hmm.
accepting what was happening. And then after Matthew, that's where everything changed, where it's like then my introspection turned extremely inward, where I was like, okay, now I'm learning that everything that's happening outside of me is happening because of what's within me, and like what like what's the word projection is perception. So it's like I was started to realize like, oh my gosh, like all of these things that I'm going through are because I believe that I'm supposed to be going through them, that I believe that that's like how life is or whatever. And um I guess another thing too is like with like my twin flame, they are a major trigger for you. They will trigger literally every single wound that you have ever had. And at one point we had reconnected and she told me like we were texting and she had told me how it just felt right. She told me, she was like, have you ever felt like you you pretty much have everything in your life you could ever want, but there was one thing that's missing? And she was like, well, I feel like since you came back, like you were what was missing. And so it was like she was saying like this really deep sentimental stuff. And then like she kind of just kind of we were supposed to meet up and then like went off the grid for like 5 days or something like that. And then that really triggered me because she had ghosted me a lot back in my obsessive days or whatever. And so that triggered me and I got upset. And then uh, like she was like trying to like rekindle, make it so we can meet up again. And then she like went off the grid again for like 2 weeks. And then she suddenly hit me up. She said she was going to be in town for a week, and I was pissed because like the literally I messaged her, and then like 2 hours later she said, "Oh, I had just gotten in." Like I'd messaged her saying, "I don't want to continue this. You're leaving me on red. You're not talking to me. You're ghosting me for weeks on end. I'm not happy with this. This is not cool. If you really want to meet with me and talk with me, you need to call me or meet me in person." And I just sent this really long text message, and then like yeah, like an hour later she just said, "Okay, I just made it into town. I just took off a week to come see you, but like, okay." And I was like, so can we talk about what I just said to you? Like, like, what is this short response? And then I just got really upset, and it triggered me to the point where I started yelling over like audio messages and stuff. And I gave her an ultimatum. I was like, "You're gonna either meet with me now, or like, you're like, I'm done. She's like, I'm just done with this." And kind of kept yelling and stuff over audio messages for maybe like 5 to 10 minutes, and then I kind of took a chill pill, and I kind of was explaining to her. I was like telling her like, I'm sorry that I was yelling. I just feel very strongly about this. I haven't really put my boundaries down with you very well, and throughout my entire time that I've known you, and now I'm finally learning how to put down my boundaries, but it's in a really wrong way. And so I guess going through that experience with her made me realize like, okay, I'm expressing my anger in really unhealthy ways. I
Mm-hmm.
shouldn't just be yelling like that. I shouldn't be giving ultimatums. So where is that coming from? So then that self introspection made me realize like, okay, that's coming from my parents, because my dad, he fucking lifted me off the ground by my neck because of my spirituality and did that in front of his fiance. And then my mom like basically cussed me out and screamed at my face and got up in my face when she left me homeless. So it was like all of these dot connection started making sense, where I was like, oh, okay, I'm treating people the way that my parents were treating me. And um so yeah, I will say a huge part of my introspection, as weird as it sounds, like it didn't really come from becoming spiritual. It didn't come from finding all of this chakra stuff and whatnot. It actually came from me pretty much treating her in ways that I didn't really want to treat her, and also realizing that she's treating me in ways that I didn't want her to treat me, and I was allowing that to happen
Mm-hmm.
because I didn't want to lose her. And I was stuck in this fantasy of like, maybe if I just wait a little bit longer and I allow her to hurt me, because she's been hurt in her past, maybe eventually she'll get to a point where she's seeing like what she's doing and things will change. And I just had this really twisted, like, just really bad. It was really bad. Like super codependent, anxious attachment, like no self love whatsoever. So yeah, it's interesting. That's just a really interesting question, because it's like, I don't know, a huge part of my self introspection came from her, now to the point where it's like I don't even really think about her anymore. Like I mentioned, in that obsessive way, it's more just like she's kind of on my mind every now and then. But now it's like to the point where like I'm constantly thinking about my actions now. Like I'm constantly thinking about my thoughts. I'm thinking about, like, I'm always analyzing how I'm viewing things. I'm always I'm even analyzing like the things I'm saying to you right now subconsciously. I'm like, am I saying things the right way? Am I coming across in the right ways? Like, is she gonna see this podcast and like have something like, there's just like all these like,
Yeah.
it's very interesting. There's a lot of different layers, I think, to introspection, but I'd say she was probably my biggest, I guess, catalyst into the world of actually looking within, working on my triggers, and learning how to like be a better person for other people.
Yeah, for sure. I have a very similar story with two of my best friends, and so yeah, it's very interesting how one person can have that effect. But man, okay, so introspection. I'm curious to know what you plan on doing with X now, and where you plan on taking that.
Yeah, it's interesting because with writing,
Mm.
I have always, when it comes to love, I have always been able to write really well. Um, and when I first joined X in January, well, I've been on X since like forever, but I started taking it seriously in January, and then I blew up to the 1,000 followers in 30 days or whatever. But that was part of it was me. It was me engaging with people and kind of going through my strategy or whatever. But then there was the other piece where I had hired a ghostwriter, and so he was kind of helping me make my content. That was only for the month. So then after that, I was kind of learning how to continue to make my own content and learning what to write and whatnot. Um, and right now, I just feel kind of like I'm platitudes really aren't vibing with me anymore, and it's like I want to be able to write about love, but I also want to show like the creative side of what I'm doing with like my photography and like my YouTube and stuff. Um, so it's like I don't really know where I want to take it. Honestly, I'm in a really weird spot now where it's like I don't want to use it for finance stuff anymore. I don't want to use Twitter to like build a business or whatever and farm DMs to like get sales and shit. Like I don't want to do that. So it's like now that I know I'm not trying to be like that, it's like I know I want to take some sort of creative direction, and I know that love has always been what I like to write about, but
Mm-hmm.
it's also like that love is also not like what I'm pursuing when it comes to like my passions and stuff. So that's where I'm like, I don't really know. Because like I've seen those TikToks where it's like people like having like poems or quotes about love and stuff, and that stuff really resonates with me. I really like giving advice about relationships. I love talking about love. It's something that rings really true to me, but I don't really know where I want to take it. I still know I want to go viral. I want to go viral on X. I already know it's going to happen. Um, but how? I have no idea. I've been thinking about like I also like music. I've been thinking about maybe like I don't know. Um, I always use the Discover Weekly on Spotify, so I'm like thinking like I don't know, maybe I can start this little series where I just like dance to like random songs that I find and just post it on X and maybe try and create some sort of like little dance Tuesday or something where it's like everybody on in my community like post something of them dancing or something. I don't know. Just like I want to create something where I'm really engaging with people and people are like having fun and they're really excited about it, but I'm not really sure like what path I should take yet.
Mm. Mm-hmm. Can I give you some 2 cents?
Yes.
I really dig the idea of videography, cinematography, all of that type of stuff. And love, like the idea of poems and things. Why don't you mix them? Okay. The thing with X is you don't have to build a business. We're not building businesses. Like mine, I'm building a personal brand. I can do
Mm-hmm.
whatever I want with it in the future. I
Right.
mean, I can post about this podcast and people love it, but I can also post about my client work who I'm ghostwriting for, and people still like it because it's me. So like, I can see your banner already is like a super sick like scenic shot that you got, and it's like creative love or something like that. And like, I would say just post about that. Like, post a poem every day. Post how you're like what you've learned with like cinema, videography and like things like that, and camera settings, and then also like maybe even tie them together. How does love and videography come together? The show of emotion, the show of something that's really that I've always enjoyed is like the adding of soundtracks behind movies and
Yeah.
things. Like there is a love in that. There is a deep connection of like psychology, and so you could just mix them together. You have an understanding of both of them. Mix them.
Well, that's true. I think maybe there was a part of me that was feeling held back because I built up those 1,000 followers on
Mm.
finance and grit and you're a loser, get your life in order, and like the economy is failing, and so now it's like, and then I lost like 20 followers after expressing that I'm not bi, I'm actually a lesbian, so that was cool. But then also like yeah, no, I think I was just I guess there was just a self-limiting belief in me where I was like if I pivot this hard into love and cinematography and stuff after having built up my whole platform on all of that, I I feel like it's just like I'm just gonna get really low impressions and stuff. But then that's all. I think that's just a super self-limiting belief. And like
Yeah.
even you just saying to write poems daily, I already felt my heart go, yeah, I want to do that. Like I want to write poems. That's actually sounds really, and like being able to talk about like love is like that. That actually sounds like something I would really enjoy. So thank you for telling me that, because yeah, like
Yeah.
I think I've just been kind of holding myself back when it comes to like what I actually want to start posting,
Mhm.
just because I feel like the majority of my community right now, like they don't care about love. They just care about entrepreneurship, business, and
Well, and
money.
like you can even tie that into entrepreneurship. Some of the most
Yeah.
successful entrepreneurs, the reason they're successful in their pursuits is because they have a deep feeling of love, either for God or for like spirit or for the people they help. So like
That's true.
you have to look at like what does your engagement look like? I mean, you have like the tough love posts, definitely. You have some of the finance posts, but like the people are there to follow you. And
Mm-hmm.
especially if you do video content and stuff, that's why I do this podcast, is because like yeah, I post all my tweets and stuff, but then they actually get to sit down, see my face, see the person I'm sitting with, hear a voice to it, and like see how I carry myself. And that's how you actually nurture people versus like, oh, I have to only post about finance. No, post about whatever the fuck you want to post about.
Yeah.
Like Nicholas Cole has this really cool quote where it's like the only purpose for X is to gather data on what you love. Like just post about it. And if one like gets 2,000 views and one gets 200 and you really like the one that you wrote about 2,000 views, write more about the 2,000 views one. You know?
I like that.
Just do it. That's what I would say. I'll even help you with the banner and stuff afterwards if you want to. We can do a little workshop.
Okay.
We'll do a little
All right,
workshop.
bet.
Let's clean this
Let's
shit
do
up.
it.
And
Yeah.
we'll do it. Let's do it.
I'm
But
super down.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, is there any question that you wish I would have asked during this podcast that you would like to ask and answer?
No. I wasn't really sure what you were gonna ask, so this is cool.
I love that. I think in the questionnaire thing you mentioned sustainable development. What is that? Tell me. I don't know if I.
um Sustainable development. For me, that's pretty much just like I imagine. I created this whole. Is there a way to I can like share screen on this?
Possibly. I hope my OBS captures it.
Should be able to.
Go for it if you can. It's gonna be in the bottom. It's gonna be like the little square with the arrow. If you can't do it, I think you can request.
Oh, present now. Yeah. Okay.
Oh,
So, um, when I became CEO of this startup,
Mm-hmm.
um, before that, all I was just a content creator. I was just trying to stream and stuff, and I joined this startup as a content creator. So then when I became CEO, like I just had this explosion of ideas, because like this was the first time I was ever introduced to like the business world, I guess. Past just like um yeah, past just content creation. Um so I made this mind map. Can you see it?
Yeah, it's loading. There we go. Yep, OBS has got it.
So I made this mind map, and I started off. It was Art Chops. That was the name. Now it's rebranded After Games. But it was pretty much. I wanted to make some sort of like educational startup where we can basically change the education system and change like how we're going about just education and how we're teaching our kids, because like basically our school system is set up on like how Horace Mann started everything, basically like trying to just create cogs in the machine and whatnot. So
Mm-hmm.
um I created this like massive mind map in the span of like
Yo,
four
what the
days
fuck?
where, so like on the left side was like all about like education and stuff, like kind of seeing how we can, like this little circle here is like how do we change teaching where we kind of put like little kiddos in four different groups because we all learn differently, um only teach like the basics of math, science, and English to start, make it where you can intrigue children through these subjects, and have them like group all these learning styles together so they're like working together, then make it where they're like, okay, where within these subjects do I find some kind of spark? And then
Mhm.
from there, they separate into those smaller groups, or even just individual one-on-one mentoring if their goals are so unique that they can't work with other kiddos. Then basically make it where they're set up with some sort of mentor, and make it where by the time they're age 15, they're already making money doing what they love because they found that spark at a young age. Because, like I said, I found mine when I was in sixth grade, so I know it's possible. Um, and then have their mentor, and then by the time they're 15, they already have that financial foundation. They're already pursuing their purpose, and like they're not worrying about like where they're going to be at age 18 or whatever. So that's kind of where I went with that. And then like there was a like AI mentors. I really love AI, and so I was thinking like I love Baymax, and I was like, is there some way we can make like really cool mentors where like you have your AI person come in and you just like download like all of the information on like Japanese, and then you just like ask them to like talk to you in Japanese, and like I don't know, just like really cool customizable AI mentors that you literally just chat with, and they're like a human but they're not. Like think Detroit become human almost. I think the video game. Um, and then Matthew, he really loved Elon Musk, and I didn't really know too much about Elon. So when Matthew's love for Elon, and then saw all the different things Elon was doing, I was like, oh my gosh, there's so much stuff that he's doing. And like, what's crazy? You see all these like little like lines and shit that are like connecting all over the
Mhm.
place.
Mhm.
Literally, my brain, had I not like visualized this, I like these are all dot connections that I was making between the educational side, like what Elon's doing, then like my own personal stuff of like all the things that I want to do. Somehow that also got into like how to jumpstart like the magnetic field on Mars, because I eventually maybe want to go to Mars. But then this all goes down to your question of sustainable development, where I had this idea of like pretty much a certain type of a city, a successful, sustainable, protopian, meta modern city
It's a
where
lot of words. You gotta shorten that.
yes, I did quite a bit of research, but pretty much I had this idea. I was like, okay, what would the ideal city look like? What would like where it can be sustainably developed, people can not be like hurting the planet and stuff, and but also can be helping each other. So I was like, okay, let's find areas that are close to the ocean, for like water's sake, being able to like convert salt water into fresh water, stuff like that, and just like humidity wise, or maybe go into ghost towns just so we're not like ripping up other turf, and we're just like kind of using what's already been created, so we don't have to continue to waste more money on making new things. Having some sort of hyperloop system so we can remove car deaths and whatnot, and like animal deaths and whatnot. Having some sort of emergency dome, so like if stuff like a nuke or something like that were to happen, you'd have this insane like crazy I don't know what kind of metal can withstand a nuke. I'm sure we've probably created it, but something like that where you can press a button and this emergency dome goes over the city, and then you don't have to worry about it. um, and then having like an underground recycling system where essentially within your sustainable housing, so this is what I believe every house should have, like in order to be sustainable. So you'd have Starlink, you'd have the solar rays, your solar energy room that can be for your Tesla or whatever, if you end up getting some sort of electronic car. Having an aeroponics room where you can create like make your own food and stuff, and also have your own water generator. Having a VR and an AR room so you're fully tapped into technology and can use it when you want. You can have a 3D printing room where there's a lot of stuff that we use in our day-to-day life where you only use it once and then you never use it again. So like stuff like that where you can 3D print something, use it once, and then throw it into your recycling room that you have in your house, and then that'll feed into this underground recycling system, and it's just pretty much this city where like everybody's recycling things that they don't need, and it's all kind of like feeding into each other. I don't know if you ever watched the Passengers. I think that's what it's called, but it was pretty much this like space movie where they were cryogenically frozen and then put on a ship and then sent out to space, and then they woke up when they weren't supposed to. But they have this medical pod where like you go into the pod, it scans you like up and down, and it'll tell you every single thing that's ever wrong with you. So I was like, okay, and what if we have something like that? And then obviously you need to have a gym, have those AI mentor bots that I was talking about, and then having some sort of sewage system where you are all your shit and piss and stuff
Mm-hmm.
is going into that fertilizer system in your backyard, so then you can also be planting stuff in your backyard. Um, and yeah, so that's kind of like how I would see like kind of like some sort of sustainable housing going. And then this also got into the art shops curriculum, and how can we like have different kinds of like recreation and stuff. How can we integrate Web3 into this kind of a city? And then having some sort of a new government stuff. So yeah, I created all this in like what, 4 days? What did I fresh 21-year-old promoted to CEO, Hannah Thorsen Vision Board, growing up hating space and only wanting to be in the entertainment industry to now. I did it in 4 days. So yeah, that's the long-winded answer on, I guess,
Okay.
sustainable development. But
Shit, I should have
yeah.
asked this question first. Damn
I'll
it.
just say that there's a lot of shit that I want to do and get into.
Yeah, well, I mean, regarding Elon Musk, I seeing all of that, like first principles thinking comes into play in a lot of that. I don't know if you've read or like done
Mm-mm.
a lot. First principles thinking is basically taking, it's how he's learned rocket science. You take the most complicated things and you just break them down to the basics. And so he
Mm.
was like, instead of buying a fucking rocket, I'm gonna buy the materials to build the rocket. And so he's like, I need cheap metals, I need good ignition, I need good gas, I need good scientists. So he's literally sourced an entire spaceship for like, I think it's like a third of the price or something. Like a spaceship is like $60 million, and
Yeah.
he's built one for like 18, I think. I'm like, what the fuck? And so that's how he's learned. It's even how he's doing education. Like his private school where his kids go is like it's all first principles thinking. And so
Yeah.
like they take these stupid complicated problems and they just break them down to the basics, and that's how he does it. It's kind of what Charlie Munger does too, or did too, with like he never did business, but he created a very successful business with Warren Buffett just by first principles thinking.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's pretty sick.
Dang. So are you saying that you kind of saw that in what I was doing?
Yeah, definitely. I think it could be more simplified with first principles thinking, but like first principles thinking is just taking a super big topic like a sustainable environment or a sustainable city and breaking it down into
Hmm.
the basics. Like, you have to have the basics of food, water, shelter, and health. Health is outside of food and water, I think personally. So it would come down to like, is it walkable? Is it healthy? Is the environment good? Is it sourced good? Like buildings and stuff like that. And so I think it comes down to that. It's just like that new. Oh, they're building a new building somewhere in. I want to say like the Asias, and it's like a huge strip
Neon?
building.
Neon?
Maybe that. I don't know. I haven't seen
I
it in
think it's
forever. I
neon.
think the last time I heard about it was when it was released, and it was like when I was in school. I don't keep up with
Yeah, yeah, I think
anything
yeah, and
anymore.
it's like a massive mirror wall, pretty much.
Yeah, pretty
It's,
much.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, it's
yeah, yeah.
neon. Yeah, I saw that. I wanna go there so bad.
Yeah, I think it would be so cool, and like I think that idea of like sustainability wise. I mean, for fuck's sakes, it's in the middle of the desert.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's gonna be really cool. But yeah, I don't keep up with anything anymore. I'm really
No,
in
same.
my own little fucking world over here doing whatever the hell I do. But
I'm the same way. I don't watch the news or anything. I'm so out of touch. I need to like get back into the news and stuff just because I would like to know a little bit more about what's going on in the world. But man, just
mm,
like all this war and stuff, it's like
I guess
I don't want to put my head out there yet, quite yet.
my thing is like if I can't have a serious impact on it, it's not fucking important to me. Like,
Yeah.
sure, Ukraine. What am I gonna do? Send $2?
Yeah.
What is that? Who is that gonna help? Like, that doesn't even buy you a bottle of fucking water. So
Yeah.
I guess like that's just
Yeah,
my
I know the
thing.
same way. I'd rather, if there is something that I am supporting or I am learning about it in that grand of a scale where it's like it's obvious people need help,
Mm.
I want to be able to be an actual like pioneer. I want to lead from the front, not like you're saying, just give a couple bucks here and there and like hope it
Yeah.
does something. It's just like that just doesn't feel good. It feels shitty. Doesn't really feel like I'm doing anything.
Yeah, and I guess it also comes down to like my ethics around adults. Adults have chosen their path, and I think the only people I would ever help in my life would be kids because they're innocent.
Hmm.
No one is innocent until they're impacted. So, or everyone is innocent until they're impacted. So, it comes down to
Hmm.
that.
Interesting.
Yeah, yeah. But I don't have much else for you. Thank you for coming on today. I really appreciate it.
Of course.
Yeah, that was Hannah, everybody.
Sweet. Heck yeah. Thanks for
Awesome.
having me.
Thank you.